is an uncomfortable idea. Most of the ads you'll see in today's environment are a total waste of money. Not because the work is bad. Some of it is brilliant. Because good was never the job. Being remembered was. I'm Jonathan Rolley, and this is the Science of Advertising show where we pull apart ads and ask one question. Did the brain actually buy it? And I've got two guests in today's studio. I have Matt Farnham from Heartland and I have Pynta from Neuro Insights. Gents, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Good to be here.
Very good.
The science of advertising.
Now, I'm super excited because we have a CMO in. I love getting the CMO's perspective from Matt and what goes on behind the scenes, from the brief to the insight. So we're going to cut to the ad straight away. So this is the Adtopsy, and this is the latest from Heartland.
The science of advertising.
For years, we imagined the places we'd go, the moments we'd share. But since we retired, we thought we'd never be able to afford these things. But Heartland Bank found a way to turn someday into today. Unlocking the equity in our home with a reverse mortgage didn't just change our finances, it changed our life.
Beautiful work, Matt. Like, one thing we were just talking about in the green room just before is that when you see an ad, you don't know what goes in behind the scenes. You don't know the brief. You don't know the constraints. So I'd love to hear your perspective. Like, what was going on for Heartland? How did this come about?
Yeah, so this was actually our first big brand campaign for Heartland Bank Australia. So this was our first foray into doing an ad completely from scratch, where we took a step back and went, what are people actually buying a reverse mortgage for? What do they care about? And instead of starting from a creative space, I sometimes worry that you can get a little bit lost in creative if you don't start with data and understanding of the customer. So that's really where we started, to understand the emotional drivers behind why someone would want to take out a reverse mortgage.
So was there an insight or a data point or something this concept was leveraged?
Yeah. So our research, and we did some qualitative and some quantitative research where people rejected the idea of a reverse mortgage before they'd actually understood what it was. So the purpose of this ad was actually to create that permission. So get them to want to understand a little bit more. It wasn't a heavy product sell. It was really opening the door and inviting them to learn a little bit more.
So this is more of a category job than a Heartland job. Is that what you were looking to do?
Yeah. So we had to do a little bit of both, but the biggest piece there is the category. There is a huge opportunity in the category, but less than 1% of the equity in over 60s is actually being utilised. So there is a huge opportunity there for people to unlock a better life by using the equity in their home.
So then for yourself and Heartland, are you looking to like grow the category? Because that seems like the biggest opportunity, and then anchor your brand to the category? Is that?
Yeah. So Heartland Bank Australia is the leading provider of reverse mortgages in Australia. So we are that category leader. So it is on us to grow that category and educate people about that category.
Very good. Now, can you talk to me about some of the challenges and constraints? Like, because I know Heartland in New Zealand has been quite the institution. I know in Australia it's had various shapes, forms and structures over the years. And I think it was 2 years you actually consolidated into a bank. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So Heartland Bank in New Zealand has been around for 150 years.
Yeah, wow.
Heartland Bank Australia, we became a bank in 2024.
Yeah.
Our biggest product is reverse mortgages. So that is our lead
hero product.
That is our hero product, and that's what we lead with.
Yeah.
So I have been in the role for less than 12 months. This is our first head of marketing role that we've had at Heartland Bank Australia. So stepping in and looking at the category and going, how do we actually grow the business? If you went out on the street and you asked 10 people, what is a reverse mortgage? I think you probably get 10 different answers.
Yeah, right.
So that was probably that first job there, that we start with understanding and then we move into the motivation and then the product.
So was that the brief? Like, what was the actual brief for the ad?
Yeah, it was to change the narrative. So what we found was that people heard the words reverse mortgage and they rejected the idea. So the idea and the brief behind this was to create a space where it wasn't rejected just from the name.
Got it.
So create that opportunity.
Yeah. And then in terms of the actual execution, I know this was something that impressed me, that majority of this was in-house and you'd driven it. And I know in-housing agency, it's always an interesting topic. So can you just talk me through like probably some of your constraints you may have had and then how you just went about it?
Yeah. So I had a very limited time to get this to market.
Yeah. What's a limited time?
We started the concept of the ad in November and it was in market at the end of Feb.
Wow.
So, which if anyone knows how long it takes to actually produce an ad, that's
the best time to be producing assets as well, because that's where everyone's available.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Oh, wow.
So September, October, we spent hours and weeks going through the data and the insights and the understanding that we could find before we even looked at creative. So creative came at the end around once we understood the customer, the insights and the why, then the narrative kind of fell into place. So that's where this...
Well, huge credit, because I go like... ballpark numbers, I'd go 80% of what I've been exposed to. The creative agency, usually they don't actually have an insight or something profound. It's very loose, the briefs. And I go, great quality work starts with the great brief. Yeah. And that's why, again, what we're talking about, the CMOs need to shape great briefs because that's actually where great work starts. And it usually needs an insight or a perspective or an angle that you're looking to own. So like, I think that's really powerful and profound, but is this a starting point for you or where is this in the journey?
It is. So this is the start of that understanding. So if we can shape the narrative around what could retirement look like for our older Australians in 2026, this started with data and insight into what are people actually using a reverse mortgage for. So
so what are they using it for?
45% of them are using it for renovations. So the very first scene that you see is someone renovating their kitchen. So we wanted to start with real life scenarios that everyone can relate to and go, that is on my bucket list. The next stage of this is around the actual customer stories and really understanding what people are doing with it.
Yeah.
So more case study kind of work, more narrative led around the real stories that how we're helping people unlock a better life.
Yeah, because that's what my read was. It's social validation, which is social proof. So I want other people in the herd, we're a herd animal, that are already doing it, embracing it and leveraging the product. And that feels like the playbook here. And it feels like that's the direction you're heading.
People want to see people like them using the product.
Yeah.
So if you start to think about, is this product for me? You want to see yourself in those scenarios and in those ads.
Now, question for you on the actual asset. Looking at now, is there anything you'd do differently if you'd do it again?
There are a couple. I think we spent a lot of time going over music and lines and things like that at the end, but that is because the core narrative I wouldn't change.
Yeah.
But there's probably tons of creative decisions that I would second guess. And
Mate, I think any ad that you finish, you never actually fully content with. But mate, really, really great job. Love the asset, love the direction, love what you're standing for. Now we got Pete Pynta. Pete from Neuro Insights, 20 plus years in advertising. Deep study, we're using EEG to understand where memory forms throughout assets. I think you've analysed over 2,000 ads plus. Pete, your perspective on the actual asset.
Yeah, JR. Look, I think the first time I saw that ad, and when you shared it with us, was like, wow, that ad has to do a lot of heavy lifting. Matt is nodding and agreeing, but like just looking at it because of the category, I guess because I didn't really know much about the category, or how do I get in? Should I get in? That type of thing. As well as when I mean heavy lifting, it's got a brand, and you've got to own the narrative. What I always find fascinating is the story behind the story, which is what you're unlocking with Matt right now, and that is that like that's my immediate impression. So the intrigue becomes, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? How big's the market? And to really, I guess, empathise and understand the fact that you're on the threshold of what is potentially a huge category.
Totally.
So we're not talking about hamburgers or cars or bank loans necessarily. We're talking about educating, which is why I say heavy lifting. You're educating, you're forming a narrative, and crucially, you want Heartland Bank to come along for the ride and never, suffer from that classic case of brand leakage to a competitor who is also offering a product. And so it's an education piece, it's a brand piece, it's forming a narrative which you would hope to own and be yours intrinsically. And when you think about that, there's not many categories on the planet that advertise but have that opportunity to cross that threshold to own the narrative. And as a category leader, it's almost incumbent upon you to do that. So it's a huge responsibility, huge brief, huge narrative.
Yeah, but
pretty exciting.
A huge opportunity as well. And like just from my perspective, like I've been in direct response forever and a day. Like looking at this is really, I'd go a brand response ad.
Definitely.
Just looking as soon as opening scene, you see logo brand comes up straight away. So if there's any moments of memory form, you don't have a question mark, or it's all the heavy lifting at its back. I'm not sure if you want to talk to that at all, Pete.
Sure.
Using your experience.
Well, and again, I think the second thing I noticed was when it branded.
Yeah.
And congrats that the ad brands immediately.
Yeah.
And that's really important because you simply don't want to risk forming a narrative, forming a great ad, but who is it for?
Yeah.
So congrats at doing that. And the more that goes on, I think the better. And the more you will own the narrative and the category and the space and the story. So, in fact, the reverse, of course, is the biggest killer of advertising effectiveness. And that is that comment, great ad, but who's it for? Or I don't understand the concept, or I don't understand. So hence that ad has a lot of heavy lifting to do, but it's on its way.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you, Matt, and the team. It feels like you've got base now. It's like, what does it look like from here? So yeah, huge congrats to you and the team.
Thank you. This was definitely the foundational layer of that brand story.
Yeah.
So to your point about brand leakage, there was a lot of discussions about where to place the logo and how much of this was a brand play and how much of this was a category play. We lent more towards category play and tried to tread that line of we want to keep the branding present but not overpowering. So
I've got a question for you. So we've worked with a lot of global brands that have launched into Australia, and this is also tension. Do we actually use their assets, or do we build our own? So you've got New Zealand. Do you have like a big bank of New Zealand assets?
we do. So what we found is the customer research is a little different.
How so?
So people are using it for different reasons in New Zealand versus Australia. We are obviously a bigger market.
Yeah.
Over 60s in Australia hold about 3 trillion worth of property equity. So it's a huge market. It's a very different market. So we did look at some of the assets they were using and thought, there's actually some insights here that are different for us that we want to tell our own story and not just lift and shift.
Yeah. Makes sense. No, really, really good. And next section, I'm so excited for this one. This is brand wars.
The science of advertising.
So there's two brands that have launched two different assets, and this is in auto. So we've got the latest from Honda that is trying to revive their brand, and then we've got Toyota, which is the juggernaut, and the RAV4. So let's cut to the ads now. Let's look at the latest from Toyota.
In a world where recreation
Dad.
is under threat,
I thought you loved that thing.
Never ride it anymore.
a hero arrives to save us from too many chores, need to work late, and
We have to cancel.
Honey, there's a car in our driveway.
That's not a car. That's a
recreational activity vehicle 4.
recreational activity vehicle.
This year, the only thing that can stop unrecreation is recreation. Made for recreationists and the recreation-ish. So get on board, attempt the tent, and inflate the inflatable. Because the all-new RAV4 is bolder, smarter, and it's hunting unrecreation.
What do we got here?
It's actually the
All-new RAV4. Long live recreation. Toyota.
Somewhere along the way, we've all had to park a dream or two. Good thing is, it's never too late to pick them up again. Honda, the power of dreams.
Beautiful. Two juggernauts of the auto industry. Matt, I'm going to cut to you. Talk to me. What do you think's good? What's not so good? And who won this battle?
My initial thought is it took me way too long to realise that the Honda ad was a car ad. That I don't think we saw a car or the branding until at least halfway through that ad, where the Toyota ad, I think, was in the first 10 seconds we saw a car and probably potentially the logo as well. So for me, when I'm thinking about how long people are actually paying attention to an ad, if you're not getting them in that first 10 seconds, it might be a bit of a miss.
Very good. Pete. Oh, Pete, what have you got?
How intriguing. Well, I might disagree with you, Matt.
Okay.
Two very different styles in a lot of ways. Like, it's the first time Honda's arrived with a Prelude, I think 25 years. So we're not used to that. It is the thinking person's ad, I think. You're right, Matt, in terms of it took a long time to cut to the pack shot, right? You know, the opening of that intrigue. But I think the ad plays really strongly on intrigue, and it has you hooked.
The Honda ad?
Yeah. And I think because of the mystery, the darkness and that type of thing, it is a high-risk ad, but I think it pulls it off because as the roller door rises, which is the reverse of all the other sequences in it prior to that, it all is revealed, and it's revealed instantly. And of course, importantly, it's the front and the nose of the car, not the rear of the car. We know the data's told us for years that that will work 20 to 30% better than the rear pack shot. Now, of course, that's the next branded element that comes in. But you see the nose, you see the beauty, the lines, and the mystery and intrigue all comes together. So I think that's a pretty smart ad, and it's different. It's not a typical ad that goes around the S-bends on a country road, which honestly, I feel like anyone that produces one of those ads again really needs to think about, I think the brief. That's just my opinion. RAV4, And before I move on to RAV4, I think that ad would work beautifully in a context of drama and mystery and intrigue. That'll work 20 to 30% better in that surrounding capsule. Okay, so beautifully crafted, and I hope and it should work. It's certainly that the opening pack shot and the nose of the new Prelude. On the other hand, you've got a more functional ad in with RAV4. Pretty typical playbook for RAV4 and Toyota. They don't waste time getting to the pack shot. Interesting interplay between the surrounding voiceover and the caricatures, and of course the hero pack shot, which is the RAV4. Very interesting interplay there. That would work better in more functional programs like news, a current affair, of course. Holiday recreational type programs is an easy win there. So more functional, a little bit quirkier, but hasn't got anywhere near the intrigue and the hook and the stickiness of Prelude. So to me, Prelude.
Honda wins. Yeah. I'm shocked. I'm actually
sorry.
Important note, and I think from your perspective, Matt, as well, you're looking at two different cohorts, RAV4, Prelude, totally different markets, totally different buyers.
Yep.
They're both working to the same principle, which is pain pleasure. They're trying to set up the problem first, which is what Honda's doing, and it's also what RAV4 are doing. So they're going, here's problem, and then there's solution. All my chips go on RAV4.
Okay.
And there's several reasons for it. I go, in today's society, everything is moving much faster. To run a 60-second ad where I'd go 45, 50 seconds of it is actually quite slow. I agree with you. They're trying to create this intrigue. I just think it's actually way too long. 60-second ad asset in today's environment. Now, they're both 60s, mind you. But the RAV4 actually has faster attention seen, and it drops new information. I associated RAV4, there was a data point that I heard a long time ago that was a number one car on the back of an RACV pickup truck. So they had problems.
Wow.
So I always look at RAV4s and I'm like, you buy one of those, you're going to need a mechanic.
Yep.
Whether that's true or not, I'm not even sure. But as soon as they came out with what is a RAV4, it was a recreation activity vehicle. I just thought that was genius because you've added a layer of depth and knowledge, and it's new and novel, and it's a nice little hook, but more so it plays to the emotion of what a lot of people want. And RAV4 has been the number one selling car in that category for about 5 years. They've crushed it. They sell 50,000 of those a year. I just think RAV4, that's a volume play. Honda's in trouble. Honda's in a lot of trouble and have been. So Honda since 2019 has just been on a downward slope. Numbers, if I was looking at numbers, where's Honda? They were 60,000 plus in 27. They're down 74%, in terms of total vehicles. And this is where you go, category becomes really interesting because it's not just the brand and the ad. And this is where I think a lot of things go astray. You got to look at the auto category. What's winning in the auto category right now? It's Chinese brands. Chinese brands are nearly running the playbook Japanese brands did when they first took the market. So it was I can buy the same product, if not better with more features, for 15 to 25% lower price. So the value there with Chinese car is amazing, whereas Honda and a lot of their cars have had a good, better, best. You go and get a base model, but you've actually got to upsell 2 or 3 times to get the one with all the features. Chinese haven't. They've gone for 15 to 25% lower. You're getting panoramic roof, you're getting synthetic leather, you're getting all of it, which is why the numbers have actually flipped.
Right. Now, Matt, can I just say something? I knew you'd say this, and I knew you'd do this, and that is, forgive me, please.
What?
I was talking to the ad and the creative alone.
Okay.
What you've done is introduced so many, many, many more factors. Now, I'm not saying that those factors, those macro factors, don't count, but forgive me, I was talking to the ad in its purity.
I think, I get what you're saying about the high risk, high reward ad, and I think you're right, that's what they were doing. They were creating that intrigue.
Yep.
I just think it was a little too slow. Toyota did the pain pleasure piece really well, like you said, but we got to the pleasure really quick. So within probably maybe 15, 20 seconds, we were at the uplifting music. We were at them enjoying the car. Like, you were seeing yourself in it.
Right.
See, I go, Honda is trying to reposition as a premium product so they can charge a premium, and that's where they sit, and that's what they're trying to do. I go boardroom brain, neocortex, so they're making a very logical ad, and that's their playbook, and I know they're trying to overlay emotion. Where I go RAV4, I go croc brain, which is reptilian. How do I grab attention throughout? And then I'm going to go dog brain and mammalian brain, our herd animal. How does it really connect? So they're doing a lot of subconscious work there as well to actually grab attention, hold attention. But if you look at branding throughout, they've done an incredible job. RAV4, 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 RAV4 throughout, and even overlaying the new novelty pieces, recreation activity vehicle.
So intriguing, and that's why this subject is just so fascinating. The one thing that I think we probably haven't discussed is a chestnut of ours, and that is less is more.
Okay.
And that's why, to me, also Prelude wins, because it really has this beautiful intrigue. To me, JR, if you say both the 60s, the Prelude does not feel like a 60-second ad. The RAV4 ad does feel like a 60-second ad, and as usual, it's packed to the rafters with the mystery, the intrigue, the usual Toyota playbook of showing plenty of pack shot, all that type of thing. So, and actually, if you're right, Matt, and if the RAV4 is great because it gets to the punchline sooner, and to your point, say it's the 20-second mark, and you'd call that the payoff, the sell. Then I'd argue that the remaining 40% of the ad, or the 40 seconds of the ad, is a waste of money because the payoff has already happened. So they're spending 60
I disagree with you
60
because
seconds of media time, and you know how expensive media is these days. That may not work.
But it has
Just
the
because
payoff
you
time.
produce it
But if
doesn't
you
mean
look
it pays off.
Toyota's brand halo. So you've got their sound, you've got the energetic jump and leap at the end.
Sure, yes.
They have been so consistent. If you look at all the Japanese brands, like people love Toyota and they're diehard Toyota, and they are the Japanese brand, and they've held share for 20 plus years. All the others, Nissan, Suzuki, Honda, have all tanked. So they've been able to hold that. And that's where I think like they've done, and they're both trying to do it. They're both trying to do a product role and a brand role. And Toyota's been incredibly consistent with Toyota brand lockups.
No question about it. No question about it. But just because it's at the end of the ad is no guarantee it will work or get in, because Matt's already told us the payoff happens at 20 seconds. So you've wasted the remaining 40 seconds potentially. Now we need to put it through Neuro to find out exactly how much money was wasted, if it was wasted at all. But the huge risk is that the payoff comes too early. And that doesn't happen with the Prelude ad. And again, forgive me, I'm talking to the purity of the creative here.
What happens if you don't even get there though, Pete? If I'm tuning out too early and the intrigue is just too long to Matt's point, and you actually never get it? Because this Honda feels like the real high-risk strategy.
Much higher risk.
It's kind of the vampire effect. It's like, I kind of remember the ad. Maybe you don't, but I don't actually remember the sponsoring brand.
No, true. If that nose shot didn't work, and all the intrigue and the mystery, and as the smoke rises and as the roller door comes up, if that doesn't work, I agree, 100% waste of money. But that's why I'm saying it's not 100% waste of money. That's the money shot. If you guys think, and if the audience thinks about the last movie they watched, it consumed 90 minutes of your time, maybe 2 hours of your time. Think of how many scenes you actually remember a day or a week later. They're only a few precious moments. So the game is about precious moments in time. And if the narrative gets you there, that's all that matters.
I really like the point about it. They're repositioning them. So Toyota's got their playbook. They haven't deviated from their playbook here because they know it works. Honda, like you said, have changing that playbook and finding a new playbook. I don't think it was a complete waste of money. If I was looking at it, I would wish we'd shifted that reveal 15, 20 seconds earlier into the piece.
Right.
So I think the ad would have had, I guess, a more better flow to it that I think I was watching it going, what is this ad for? So I got that we were looking into people's dreams, but I was sort of wondering what we were selling.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. The dream factor of that ad actually plays to the Honda tagline, "The Power of Dreams," which I think is a pretty clever play to a master brand tagline for a nameplate product as well.
Do you think it's too like boardroom brain, too logical, like the power of dreams? Whereas like you see the recreational vehicle, it's more like you can see them at play and you kind of feel and know exactly what it is rather than
for,
it's like...
For a tagline, sorry? Is that
for a tagline, because they're using that tagline for concept, do you know? So it's very like boardroom, we're the power of dreams, do you know what I mean? So let's make an ad that's all power of dreams rather than going, I'm going to be really emotive with my ad and demonstrate what the car is, how it does, and more so what it means to you as a user. Because like a car is an identity. So if I'm buying a RAV4, I'm buying some of this recreational vehicle identity and leveraging it. Like Honda's trying to do the same with more prestige, do you know, and becoming more premium, do you know? So you're buying an identity with a vehicle. I don't know, the power of dreams, I love it as a tagline, but as you start to flow through to ad concept, is it to neocortex, boardroom brain, not a much emotive?
Yeah. Well, again, I think Honda tick more boxes. They are far more emotional in that ad. They build the intrigue. Everyone has a dream. You know, don't shut it down. Reopen it. Here's your opportunity. That's why RAV is, for all its jam-packed beauty, it's more functional and it's more.
Well, it is,
you know,
like, and the other reason I love RAV is you have more moments to actually encode memory and recall. So it's mirror exposure effect through the entirety as well. And you kind of got these little cascades. But like, I agree with you and Pete, but for me, RAV4 is the ultimate winner.
I'd love to see what people think about what ads do win. Is it emotive? Because I think Toyota has the emotive feeling on lock there. To your point of Honda had a more cerebral play around elevating their brand. But I'd be interested to see what people think about what cuts through in terms of is it an emotive ad? Is it a cerebral ad? For me, I think I would pick an emotive ad
any day,
every day.
Yeah. Well, I think all the evidence is in on that, and it's one of the most intriguing parts of advertising is that emotion is always just around the corner, and the great ads play on that. You're right, and the more emotion, but emotion can be quite subtle as well. It doesn't have to make you laugh or cry in obvious terms. It can be subtle, and that's also the great part of advertising. But emotions are always part of the deal, you know, for effective ads. And yours plays on that too. You know, how can I unlock, you know, the future of...
But emotion and emotion and music are really interesting, and we're going to cut to the GOAT files now. So this is Jeep, and Jeep plays a very special place in my heart. So we're going to cut to what was the foundational pillar for Jeep back in 2010. There we have a Jeep from the archives. Pete, I'm going to start with you. Talk to me.
Oh, take me back to the time when great big brand ads ruled the world, and you know, and look, for me that just takes you back, and it just sweeps you away, doesn't it? You know, in a great song, the soundtrack I think just absolutely nails the brand ID and the brand DNA, doesn't it? You know, don't hold back. with the visuals of just freedom, country. You note the original Jeep, the Army Jeep, that's just bulletproof, absolutely bulletproof. America was built on this stuff, you know. So is Australia, you know. So beautiful, emotive. Soundtracks are not as simple as they sound. If they're too dominant, if they're too strong, they can actually swamp an ad, and people remember the soundtrack, or it triggers all that soundtrack, and you don't know who it's for. Yeah. So that's the biggest crime. That ad doesn't break that rule at all. It just beautifully in sync. The soundtrack plays to the narrative and the DNA of Jeep, the brand, and it takes you back to the time this is how to build great brands and great memories. Build them, re-trigger them, strengthen them, sell cars.
So this was where Jeep started to turn a corner. So Jeep had been selling less than 5,000 vehicles a year for like a decade. And this was the first moment they started to crack it. So they launched this and they jumped from 5,000 to 8,000 vehicles. Now, there's a lot of credit that goes to I Bought a Jeep, which did help accelerate it. But I'd call this was the foundation brand pillar that had the emotion of Jeep and soundtrack. And the interesting thing with the soundtrack is this was a top 5 aria. And I think it was 3-4 years prior. So it had been around for a little while. Yeah. So it's like it had already established itself and people loved it. So all Jeep was doing was going, I'm going to anchor my brand to this song that people love and like. And that's what they've done. And that's what they did for multiple years post. So I agree with you. Great soundtrack. You know, you would have paid 150, 300 grand for it. You've got to write a check for it. But the upside was huge and they could leverage it.
Worth every cent.
I agree. Yep. Matt, what are your thoughts?
The payoff is, or the proof is in the pudding. It's a goat of an ad because I heard the song and I knew exactly whose ad that was 16 years later from when that aired.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
So big payoff again. As you said, they've paid a lot of money to use that song. But I think it's held. So a couple of things. Again, 9 seconds to establish it was a car ad. I was counting this time.
Yeah, good.
And I think we saw the Jeep logo within the first 15 seconds. Yep. So we knew exactly what it was. We didn't sort of get lost in the storytelling or the music. To your point of, I don't think the music overpowered. I think it added to it.
Yeah.
But I think this is the identity of a car. Like nobody bought a Jeep for a spec sheet.
No.
They bought it for who they become when they drive it.
For that feeling.
Totally. So this is the identity of a vehicle that you want to leverage. And it's the same with Chinese cars right now. They look premium and European. They've got full specs. So I feel like I'm driving a premium car just without the price point. So this is why you Japanese and your Chinese cars, that's the divergence. Yeah. And that's just the product market shift.
I agree. It'd be interesting to see when a Chinese brand adopts an emotive, anchored in music or, soundtrack type of a creative, because that's the opportunity. And the grounds are shifting. The tectonic plates are really shifting in auto, aren't they?
But I think this is where Jeep got it really right. And it's interesting, I worked really closely with them on a few different things. Part of our ad tech actually started with Jeep.
Right.
When they were watching a current affair, the CMO was actually watching the current affair, and Google had just released their second by second, minute by minute traffic. So you could log into Google Analytics and you could see how many users were there. So he actually was sitting there looking at Google Analytics on a Sunday night because he was trying to use that to forecast sales and revenue. And all of a sudden, the Jeep ad went on and his traffic went from 40 to 600 users as soon as his ad went on. He's just like, I need to measure this. So that's actually how Media Pulse started, because we wanted to track when an ad goes live, how many people take immediate action, so your brand response. So that became really important for Jeep to measure, because then it was like, okay, what programs, what day parts, what creative was actually driving response. That's more your performance rather than the brand or memory encoding. So that's really interesting. But then you go, that's your brand layer, the music bed. Then you go, I Bought a Jeep became more the conversion layer as the social proof, as the herd is I bought a Jeep, I bought a Jeep, I bought a Jeep, with humor, entertainment, all wrapped up in one. So you go, they didn't really explode with the brand layer. It's when they added the conversion layer, and that was 12 to 18 months later. That's really when this thing blew up.
According to the metrics you were just talking about?
Sales data.
Right, okay.
So they went from sub 5,000 to 30,000 plus in 4 years.
Wow.
And that was so 6x, huge.
Right.
And again, the ad plays a role, and this is where I go, product market fit is everything.
Yeah.
Back then as well, the Aussie dollar, US dollar was at parity. You actually got $1.10. So Jeeps were really cheap. SUVs was what everyone wanted.
Yep.
And Jeep had arguably the best product market fit then. So you had all the wins at your back. So it was all stacked. So there's not just one reason Jeep did amazingly well.
Yeah.
There was multiple. The ads helped. But the brand layer, the conversion layer, stacked.
Right. So it was a double-barreled two-play that worked quite synergistically, yeah?
Because you'd already built this memory of the soundtrack and anchored it to Jeep. So you only needed 5 to 10 seconds at the back of an ad to remind refresh. It was already built. And then you got, I bought a Jeep. So that's how you can leverage it all the way through.
That's how you do it then.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting that they didn't bring in the conversion layer for 12 to 18 months. So they let that ad and that brand creative breathe and build that memory.
Actually, that's a really good point because I'm not sure how much time or courage or resource a CMO today would have to do exactly that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like that's a bold
far more immediate
play. Yeah.
Well, and I think that was the brand play. They brought on a new agency and they wanted to evolve it. And to their credit, they didn't kill the brand. You know, and this is where you see jingles or Sonics or music beds. They get killed way too fast. Whereas they go, no, we've built something. Let's leverage that in our assets moving forward. Same as Toyota and all the great brands do it. They don't kill things. Macca's, all of them, they keep these branded mnemonics or long-term branded assets for a long period of time.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how the brain works, you know, and that's the payoff, you know, and that's actually the real conundrum in this more immediate, like I need results now world. Like, you know, we've got to accept that the brain hasn't changed. Everything else has changed around us. We're more immediate. We've got shorter attention spans, apparently, all this stuff. But the long play is still needed. It really is. So there's an element of consistency, and I really love that double-barreled stepped approach where, you know, they're building equity and they're building on it, and they're just, you know, they're not discounting anything they've done previously. They're just building on it. You know? And
that's where I go, Toyota has absolutely dominated. McDonald's, they don't lose their long-term branded assets. They leveraged the IP that's been built in memory, and they remind and refresh. They understand that the brain does fatigue and forget. You've got to continue to remind and refresh. But the biggest challenge is actually forming memory. Forming memory is really, really hard.
It is. That's why your job originally in our chat was that has to do a lot of heavy lifting, forming memories to say, hey, we're Heartland Bank, and educate people
and
about
category jobs as well.
You know, that's a big ask.
Yeah, you got it is.
You know, it is. It's hard work.
It's interesting that you were talking about the Jeep CMO looking at the traffic spike. That's exactly the measurements we were looking at when we launched the ad to see how many people are now Googling a reverse mortgage, how many people are Googling Heartland Bank, finding out those pieces. I probably don't have 18 months before I add in a conversion layer, but it is something that...
This would be, and again, I don't like having categories, but if you oversimplify it, I'd go that Jeep ad was a pure brand ad.
Absolutely.
I would go the Honda ad, a pure brand ad. The RAV4, I would go more brand response. And I'd go your ad is moving towards more brand response. Then you have pure direct response, which is hardcore, really forgettable ad, but just trying to drive conversion driven. And this is where I'd go, the Jeep ads have moved into a brand response ad. Like even with Jeep, when you look at it, they tested 42,900 or 43K drive away. As soon as you dropped, because everyone else, and this is the environment, everyone else was doing 42,900 and these, and Jeep was just like, nah, fuck it. We're just doing 43K.
Simpler,
We're doing something different, and it shortened it. And it had increased response rates compared to their controls. Amazing. So this is where you can test all the different mnemonics, and you can't discount the environment you're in and how it's been consumed like you're talking about before. So yeah, there's lots of different variables and elements.
That's so interesting that they went from 42,900 to 43K, because I was always taught about first number bias, that if that lower number is at the front, that's what they're looking at. But yeah, they're shortening of the number to just 43K, not 43,000.
But it was also really different in market.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it was like every other auto was running this playbook. What are we doing that's different? Could have gone the other way, but unless you had the numbers like you're talking about, you just don't know. So it's how do you actually test things?
Yeah.
And like Jeep were also really interesting. As they went, they would actually cut 4 ads, same ad, but they would cut it in 4 different ways.
Yep.
With different front end, different hook on TV, like you would with social now or any other. But they'd see what was the response rate with each different ad. They'd learn and then they'd go all in. But they were more a brand response because, to your point, they knew traffic here and lead funnel would result in revenue 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how they'd know here, if I can build this is what it means 4 weeks later.
It's amazing that you can produce 4 different ads or 4 similar ads, but they're all quite different. And they actually will perform quite differently in market. Like, it's intriguing. Small things, big.
But this is exactly what you do, isn't it, Pete? With Neuro Insights, is you will actually analyse an ad and you'll see where memory either forms or doesn't form, and you'll actually change sequences or musics. Yours is actually small tweaks to increase the depth of memory encoding.
Yep, 100%. There are moments, and this is why I talk about moments so much. Like, there are moments that peak. And of course, we're all chasing that, as CMOs, as advertising execs, we're all chasing those peak moments. What is important is to actually look at the blind spots, or the exact opposite. And they're the sort of things that we don't care to sort of agonise over so much. They're the boring pieces but they're the pieces that kill great creative. And it can be a great ad, but it can be killed by a blind spot. And they can be found through varying edits, or you can basically have a look at it and go, okay, here's a really vulnerable second or two. Remove that, and can it be edited together? And of course, this is highly iterative with the creative agency and the client. And if it can be achieved, and it often can be achieved, it's actually very rare that it can't be achieved. You take a moment out, like literally a fraction of a second. Or a black scene or something like that. And you will find that you have continuity, you have stronger memory, and of course that leads into your next killer punch, which is of course Heartland Bank or your brand or whatever you want to work. So yeah, it's the vulnerability that kind of gets you if you're not aware of it.
Beautiful. Pete, Pynta, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's it from the Science of Advertising show. Till next time.
The science of advertising.